Jerome Powell from the Federal Reserve just dropped a bombshell today. Not only is crypto about to go mainstream, but stablecoin transactions have surpassed Visa for the first time in the crypto market. And with RLUSD out there trading on exchanges like Uphold, in this video, we're going to talk about what this means for global payments, RLUSD being converted to gold, USDT's market cap dominance compared to the total crypto market cap excluding Bitcoin on the chart, and what's expected to happen next in this market cycle that you need to be ready for. Plus what's happening with inflation, SEC versus Ripple's lawsuit, Jerome Powell's recent remarks during his speech, and how coincidental it is that there's a 60-day window here with the SEC and the Fed to make a major move with interest rates, along with the ISO 222 standard going live this summer, plus Jerome Powell saying the unthinkable about abolishing the Federal Reserve, plus some massive bullish news from Van Eck and Bitcoin. And we're going to look at XRP to the US dollar price chart compared to XRP's market cap dominance and what happened last bull run cycle that will give us some confluence as to what's happening right now. Plus 23 crypto secrets that will help you guys make more money in the markets, better understand how to time tops and buy bottoms, become a better trader, and overall just make more money in crypto. So if that sounds good to you, then comment 777 if you're feeling blessed, if you're feeling bullish, and let's run it.
We worked with Congress to try to get a framework, a legal framework for stable coins, which would have been a nice place to start. We were not successful. I think that the climate is changing and you're moving into sort of more mainstreaming of that whole sector. So Congress is again looking at, both the Senate and the House are looking at a framework, a legal framework for stable coins. You know, depending on what's in it, that's a good idea. We need that. There isn't one now. And stable coins are a digital product that could actually have fairly wide appeal and should contain consumer protections of the typical sorts and transparency. And that's what the Senate and the House are working on. So that's a positive thing. You know, we took a pretty conservative, and other bank regulators took an even more conservative perspective on the guidance and rules we imposed on banks. I think there'll be some loosening of that. And I think we'll try to do it in a way that preserves safety and soundness, but that, you know, permits and fosters appropriate innovation, that does so in a way that, again, doesn't put consumers at risk in ways they don't understand or make banks less safe and sound.
Now, as you guys already know that have been around crypto for a while, a stablecoin is different from an altcoin. For those of you that don't know and that see something like USDT up here thinking that you're buying something at $1 and you're going to make a whole bunch of money, little do those people know that a stablecoin is supposed to operate like the US dollar and hold a value to $1 with the intention of being used as liquidity to trade in and out of different projects. On top of that, to be able to hedge during times of volatility because of how rapid altcoins fluctuate. The only time that you're going to see a stablecoin fluctuate is if what happened with UST during Terra Luna's collapse when it depegged. So what Jerome Powell said is extremely important because to bring viability and legitimacy to the crypto industry, stablecoin regulation needs to be enacted. And on top of that, there just needs to be more trading volume within stablecoins too. And if we look at this, stablecoin transactions surpassed Visa in 2024 alone. And we've seen a drastic increase from even 2021 during the last bull run cycle. Now, back in December of 2024, Brad Garlinghouse made this post saying, "This just in, we have final approval from the New York Department of Financial Services that regulates the activities of companies, banks, and other financial institutions in New York State for their stablecoin RLUSD and exchange and partner listings. They've been dropping on Ripple's main account, on top of the SEC announcing that they abandoned their appeal against Ripple." But the reason why this matters and you should know about RLUSD is because they're now integrated into Ripple payments, enabling real-time cross-border payments backed by institutional grade compliance, transparency, and trust. But in my video about 13 days ago, I talked about this and I found this very interesting, where shortly after Brad Garlinghouse went on 60 Minutes and did this interview talking about Ripple's lawsuit versus the SEC, the cryptocurrency industry, regulation, you name it, Ripple created this meme of him saying lock in shortly after with him in a rocket ship. And in this image right here from Bearable Guy, we can see in the upper right hand corner, we can see a knight in a rocket ship blasting off to the moon, which in previous videos we've talked about how the knight has been decoded as Brad Garlinghouse. Well, how convenient was it for 60 Minutes to release this episode the same week that the SEC announced that they abandoned their appeal against Ripple? I don't think this is a coincidence. I think this is all strategic timing. So more on the Federal Reserve and the SEC in a little bit. And it's even weirder that Ripple put Brad in a rocket ship here, blasting off to where? The moon. And also right around the same time in December, he announced RLUSD's approval. So Brad goes on a media campaign to do an interview with 60 Minutes. The SEC drops the appeal, Ripple's stablecoin gets approved. So don't you guys find that a little bit weird? Also in the rest of this video, we talk about some other riddles decoded, like this arm with a missing button on it, ringing the bell right here. And also Trump rang the opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange. And these little Easter eggs right here, like this mallet above the New York Stock Exchange, potentially being the mallet above the fireplace here with the Triskelion Ripple logo. On top of that, the missing button, plus Donald Trump missing a button when he rang the bell. So this was posted December 12th, 2024. And this riddle was posted December 24th, 2022, 2 years prior. So unless this is all just a coincidence, it is super weird that these cartoon images right here posted from Bearable Guy years prior have been coming true in regards to Ripple and XRP. And even right here, the banner image shows an XRP snowball rolling down a hill. And a few years ago, this XRP snowball actually used to be a lot smaller, and it was where the sunflower was, and then it was where the bamboo shoot is. And I would assume that the owner of this account, whoever it is going to replace this banner image when the XRP snowball gets to the final snowball. And what will be replacing it right where it's at right now? Well, we'll find out soon. And on top of that, we're going to discuss what's happening with the ISO standard towards the end of this video. Check this out. Uphold's Nancy Beaton explains how RLUSD sets the new standard for stablecoins. And not only that, but can be used to trade for gold.
The stablecoin market is really evolving. It's said that up to 90% of all transactions in crypto and on the blockchain involve stablecoins today. Uphold is unique. Unlike a traditional exchange, we do have a platform that underpins where people could come, and we connect to 30 different trading venues. Ripple USD, which will be listed as RLUSD on the platform, will allow users to have that almost digital dollar in their wallet. And they will be able to use it, spend it, buy crypto, have peer-to-peer remittance. And the really great thing about the RLUSD token is that it will have the transparency, the regulatory process behind it that will allow people to feel comfortable when they are purchasing and using it for payment. Stablecoins are going to be the killer use case for crypto right now. And I think it's because they are efficient, they are fast settlement, it can be 24/7, and they're really cost effective to use. And so we're able to bring that to our customers and give them the transparency and the utility they're looking for.
And also Simon McLaughlin from Uphold said, as regulatory clarity comes in places like Europe, UK, Singapore, Dubai, greater institutional adoption is coming.
There's a slightly different point, which is as regulation is now finally becoming clearer in the UK, in Europe in particular, in places like Singapore and Dubai, as the regs become clearer, you're going to get greater enterprise adoption. You're also going to get greater adoption from the traditional finance world. So we've now been approached by several banks who are interested in white labeling our service. Again, they don't want our wallet. They don't want their customers have to go through KYC twice, but they do want to plug in and access certain of our core services.
So if they're saying that, why would they hold $1.28 billion in XRP? And so when a company wants a white label, they just basically want to slap their logo on something you already created. And so with Uphold being extremely bullish on XRP and them making partnerships, strategic partnerships with these banks, well, guess what? RLUSD transactions will bridge through XRP.
You can take RLUSD to Bitcoin, Bitcoin to RLUSD, you could take RLUSD to gold. So on our platform, you can really trade anything to anything. So it makes it really easy for the user to get in and out of what they want.
Speaking of getting in and out of anything that you want, if you want to discover how to get out of the crypto market at the right time, so you're not round tripping your bags all the way to the bottom, then you want to get our altcoin secrets guidebook here for free by clicking the link in the description below this video. It'll take you to a page that looks like this. In the book, you'll unlock the 23 secrets to pinpoint the next explosive altcoins, time your entries and exits like a pro, build a bulletproof portfolio, and break free from the rat race. That way you can outsmart the 99% because crypto is very difficult. And the reason why the majority fail is because there's secrets that the top 1% know that they use to win big that the vast majority of people will never discover. So if you want to discover what those secrets are, then get the book. It's free. You just click the button on the page right here, enter in your best email address so we know where to send the book. And as soon as you do, you'll be taken to a page that looks like this, and you can get instant access to our altcoin research team, where you'll receive early altcoin picks, live expert-led weekly calls, and pro technical analysis training, plus 100+ expert curated classes teaching you everything that you need to know about the crypto market. So check that out, guys. The link will be below. I know you're going to love it. And when you join Altcoin Pro University, you can have the opportunity to come to our next event that we're most likely going to do out here in Miami, Florida. So let's take a look at Tether's market cap dominance compared to Total 2's chart and see if we spot any confluence here for what's needed in order for Total 2 to break out, other than just global liquidity expansion and the Fed pivot. Because if we look at where we're at right now at the top of the screen for USDT with the stochastic RSI and also the dominance, we're sitting at 5.5%. Now, for those of you that don't know what that means, Tether's market cap dominance shows what percentage of the entire industry Tether has in its market cap. So for example, the whole industry's market cap is roughly around $2.66 trillion, and Tether's market cap is at about 144 billion. So that is 5% of the entire industry, or 5.52 to be exact. And so if we just draw this vertical yellow line right here from top to bottom, you guys can also see the bottom of the screen, Total 2 is sitting at $946 billion. That basically means every single altcoin in the crypto market has a market cap combined of $946 billion. So that's not including Bitcoin, obviously, at 1.6 trillion. Otherwise, the chart would look different. And the reason why we need to look at these two together is because during the last bull run right here, when Total 2 broke out from roughly $200 billion all the way up here to $1.4 trillion, we saw Tether's market cap dominance range between 3% and drop all the way down to about 2% during that first initial breakout back to the previous high of 2018. And then during the corrective phase from the 10th of May until roughly the 19th of July, when the altcoin market pulled back from about 1.4, 1.5 to about $600 billion, Tether's market cap dominance went from 2% to 5%. So what this means is when people move money into altcoins, they're moving it out of stablecoins and even the US dollar. And so we see the market cap drop for stablecoins and the market cap increase for altcoins. And it works vice versa too. When money comes out of altcoins, it goes into stablecoins. And so we can also look for confluence on the chart for key indicators on macro timeframes like the weekly or the monthly. So right now we are on the weekly chart here for both of these. And you can see currently the stochastic RSI for Tether's market cap dominance is at 87 and 83 right now. That is extremely overbought for Tether's dominance. So this is actually a very, very good sign for altcoins to make a reversal here soon, because look at the bottom of the screen. We can see the stochastic RSI for Total 2 is at 9 and 5 for the K line and the D line. Now here's one thing that's very interesting, because if we look back to the last bull run cycle when altcoins started to break out, we can see that the stochastic RSI for Total 2 was all the way upwards of 70 to 80 during that entire breakout phase. And it wasn't until this major pullback right here at the bottom of the screen that the stochastic RSI reset all the way below 20, and then experienced a bullish cross in July of 2021 for the altcoin market to rally one final time before that bull market was over. And then you could see the stochastic RSI reverse to the upside, saw a bearish cross up here, and then a final rally back up here for another bearish cross, and then a bear market from November of 2021 until June of 2022, inevitably December of 2022. And you can see during that breakout to the all-time high, Tether's market cap dominance here at the top of the screen pulled back down to about 2.43%. And then the entire bear market went on a massive rally upwards of 9% by November to December of 2022. And so during this entire bull market for altcoins, Tether has been getting rejected for the market cap dominance from this descending resistance right here. And so not only am I seeing that the stochastic RSI for Tether's market cap dominance is in overbought conditions, but we are at a critical descending resistance. So this is even more confluence for two major signals here that we're about to see a breakout for altcoins here soon. Now, the real question is, from my point of view, not necessarily if we're going to go higher for altcoins, it's How high will we go, and for how long until the bear market kicks in? That's the golden goose question right there. So that's why we look for confluence from multiple points, because if you look back to the last bull run cycle during this major pullback after altcoins broke out and pulled back by July of 2021, look at what happened in the stochastic RSI resetting all the way below 20. We dropped all the way down here to levels that we're at right now before we saw a bounce to the upside for the final peak. In the time before then that the stochastic RSI was at oversold conditions below 20 was right here before the major breakout happened during, the summer to October of 2020 and even November before the market broke out to the high. So if we look on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see we're below 20 right now for altcoins. So we're in oversold conditions. The time before then was back in September of 2024 until April of 2024. So during that consolidation period that we went through for 200 days between like March of 2024 until November of 2024, could that be comparable to what we went through back here in 2020 before the major breakout? And is what we're going through right now for this pullback similar to what we went through for this pullback from May of 2021 until July of 2021? Well, let's just measure from the bear market bottom and let's see how far into this bull market cycle we are compared to the last bull market cycle. So right from December of 2018 until the first major pullback by the 10th of May, that was about 882 days. And it depends on where we're going to measure for the bottom of the last bear market, because as you can see, it's like a double bottom almost at the same level. If we were to measure from June of 2022, well, we're about 1,036 days. So it's even further into the market cycle than last bull run. But if we measure from December of 2022 for that bottom, it's about 840 days. And so yes, I can move it over a little bit further to November or December, so within this range, because if we zoom in here, you guys can see that for total 2, it's kind of hard to identify where the bottom is, because this support right here for the bear market low from the 13th of June of 2022 until the 26th of December is pretty much flat. So it's hard to get some confluence from that right there, just because, well, that puts us anywhere between 840 days to 1,036 days. But based on the last bull run cycle, 882 days in, that's when we saw a major pullback, and it wasn't until 952 days that that pullback ended and the markets broke out from there. So one could argue that we're going through more of what we went through by July of 2021, and we're a little bit later in this market cycle than we are to compare back to September of 2020 to November of 2020. But one thing's for certain, USDT is in overbought conditions for the market cap dominance on the weekly stochastic RSI. And if we look back to right here in December of 2020, when the altcoin market broke out to the upside, well, look at where the stochastic RSI was for Tether's market cap dominance. It was below 20 and stayed below 20 while the altcoin market broke out, whereas right now it's above 80. So we couldn't say that it's similar to what happened during that time frame, because it's more so similar to what happened during July of 2021 after the altcoin market made a new all-time high. However, the main difference here is that the altcoin market is well below the high of 2021. And so we barely made it up to the high, and then we just got slapped back from it, whereas 2021 cycle was this massive expansion and explosion. And the main reason for that is because the Federal Reserve lowered the effective federal funds rate down to virtually nothing, and they were printing massive amounts of money. The CARES Act was signed into law, and quantitative easing was in full effect. Whereas right now, we're in a different economic climate outside of crypto, where the Fed is keeping rates higher for longer. They've been tightening on their balance sheet. Tariffs are enacted. So there's a lot more fear in the market. And while trueflation is coming down, it's sitting at about 1.42%, while on the federalreserve.gov's official website, inflation PCE is at 2.5%. So short-term inflation is trueflation. More longer-term inflation is tracked through here. So they're still above their 2% target. And just based on what Jerome Powell said in his speech today for the remarks that he had about inflation, they're going to be delaying rate drops until potentially June. And also, this coincides with the SEC versus Ripple lawsuit, with the parties' joint motion to hold the appeal in abeyance being granted. The SEC is directed to file a status report within 60 days of this order. So that's about June 16th, give or take a day or two, depending on when the document was signed by the judge. Maybe there's like a 24 to 48 hour grace period. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, but the Fed is expected to move in June, right after the SEC's 60-day window closes. So could this be a coincidence? Well, it's highly unlikely, because when regulators and banks are aligning timelines on top of Jerome Powell talking about stablecoins, Ripple having RLUSD, it's not noise, guys, it's choreography. XRP isn't just watching from the sidelines, it's part of the script in the movie. And it also, you guys can see, it's the second largest altcoin, only behind Ethereum, and it's closing in. It's at 122 billion. Ethereum's at 191 billion. And XRP actually used to be the second largest cryptocurrency in the world up until the SEC filed the lawsuit against Ripple. So in 20 days, the FOMC meeting is coming up, and 83% are expecting the Fed to keep rates steady. Again, that's what I just said, keeping rates higher for longer. Only 16.8% are expecting a rate cut. But guess what? By June 18th, the SEC's 60-day window is up, and also the Fed is expected to cut rates. Interesting, huh? And what do you know? A month after that, by July 14th, the ISO 222 messaging standard format for the FedWire Fund Service is going to go through a single-day implementation. With this implementation, they will sunset the existing proprietary FedWire application interface manual format and replace all FAIM messages with the ISO 222 messaging standard. Guys, this is massive. This is the biggest deal in US banking history happening right in front of our eyes. And also, Senator Mike Lee just asked Jerome Powell a question, and his answer shocked everybody.
So eliminating the Federal Reserve is best for promoting economic stability.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's all you needed to hear. Yes, that was his answer. Abolishing the Federal Reserve. So he agrees with it, but he's not going to go down without a fight. Donald Trump wants to fire Jerome Powell. If you guys didn't watch my previous video the other day, I talked about the total interest that the government has to pay based on their bonds and the spending being completely out of control. But the most important part of this video, and the reason why I got over 22,000 views, in my opinion, is because Trump just asked the Supreme Court to let him fire top agency officials, which would give him the power to fire the chair of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell. So it's not some random business owner or owner of a bank saying that they should fire the Fed. This is the President of the United States asking Congress to fire the Federal Reserve chair, guys. It doesn't get any more legit than that. Now, will he have the power to do that? I don't know. We'll see. But there's going to be some major changes happening in the government, as there are already with the Department of Government Efficiency. This just in, $110 billion Van Eck proposes bit bonds for the U.S. to buy more Bitcoin and refinance its $14 trillion in debt. So America is embracing Bitcoin, and you know what that means for altcoins. It's extremely bullish. But what does this mean for XRP? Well, if we look at XRP's market cap dominance chart on the weekly, we also brought up the stochastic RSI and XRP to the US dollar as well too. XRP's been pulling back all through 2025, where it briefly made an all-time high, but nothing to pop any bottles for. It was just a few pennies, and then it pulled back to about $2.09 currently, whereas XRP's market cap dominance, I talked about this years ago, it was in the depressing stage of the psychology of a market cycle, and I said, watch, XRP's market cap dominance will break out, and that's what we saw happen. It went from 1%, did a double bottom right here, and broke all the way upwards of 5%, and now we're just consolidating right now. So if we look back to the last bull market cycle, when I showed you guys on this chart right here, when Tether's market cap dominance went from 2% all the way up here of 5%, and the total crypto market cap dropped from 1.5 trillion to 600 billion during July of 2021, well, that's right here when XRP pulled back from $1.93 to about 54 cents. And then when Bitcoin was rallying to the all-time high, XRP was making a lower high and then getting rejected from this descending resistance all the way to the bear market bottom. Whereas XRP's market cap dominance did a double bottom right here and rallied up to about 3.8%, and that was it for XRP's market cap dominance. It was in a downtrend from there all the way to the bear market bottom. So there was a lot of manipulation during this phase right here, during the double bottom from the 20th of December of 2020 until March of 2021 because of the SEC's lawsuit suppressing XRP's growth that bull run. And so now I just find it very interesting how Ripple stablecoin is now approved for the New York Department of Financial Services. The SEC dropped the appeal against Ripple, and in 60 days they have a deadline. The Federal Reserve is planning on lowering interest rates. Stablecoin regulation is coming to the banks this year. The ISO standard is going live with the Federal Reserve and globally by November at the end of this year for all banks around the world. And XRP is still sitting below its all-time high, whereas Bitcoin is sitting at about $84,000, up from its all-time high of $60,000 last bull run cycle by about 23%. Sure, that's nothing crazy, but the project with the most utility, the faster transaction, lower fees than Bitcoin, an actual use case to be used cross borders rather than a store of value, it has a function to it, is still below its all-time high. I just find that very interesting. And while the average retail investor looks at that as a bad thing, that's opportunity. But we also have to look for confluence here, because if we look at the stochastic RSI for XRP's market cap dominance, well, it's interesting. The K line's at 3.3, the D line's at 3.3, guys. We are below 20. That is extremely bullish, because that shows that XRP is undervalued in dominance compared to the rest of the industry. You do not want to be selling XRP when it is undervalued in terms of dominance compared to the rest of the industry. And that's just not financial advice. I'm just talking to myself here because I'm not a financial advisor. These videos are purely for education, informational purposes only. And crypto is very risky. You can definitely lose money in these markets because anything can happen. But common sense would suggest that anytime something is overbought on these key indicators on macro timeframes, for example, when XRP's market cap dominance was all the way up here above 80, well, that's when XRP's price was all the way up here in like January, early January, late December of this year at about $3 before the pullback took place. So if you were buying XRP while XRP's market cap dominance was this high, then you got absolutely wrecked. But if you were accumulating XRP when the market cap dominance was below 20, well, the time before then was October of 2024, you would have been buying XRP at about 50 cents. You'd be up on your income. The time before then was right here in March of 2024. I mean, XRP was at 50 cents. Well, pretty much XRP was at 50 cents since the bear market bottom until October. So accumulating around any of that time period was good. But if you watch these key indicators like this, it'll give you a glimpse on the best possible times to accumulate, not on the micro, not on the day-to-day, but on the macro if you have long-term patience to hold. And so in my opinion, this is incredibly great time to accumulate more XRP for the long term because XRP's market cap dominance, stochastic RSI, is at like 3.3. That is extremely oversold. And also XRP to the US dollar price chart on the weekly as well too is at like 5 and 4.43 for the K line and the D line. So we're in drastic oversold conditions right now. Now, it doesn't mean that XRP can't drop lower. It definitely can. And the stochastic RSI can stay below 20 for an extended period of time, but it won't stay below 20 forever. So I don't know, you don't know, nobody knows when it'll breach back above 20 and experience the bullish cross. We just know on the macro that it has never once dropped below 20 and stayed below 20 forever. So all that means is the storm shall pass, this too shall pass, and there'll be a rainbow at the end of the storm with a pot full of gold. And if you're lucky, maybe a leprechaun. Or that's why you're watching this video. I know I got a little bit of red hair, so I am good luck for you, and that's why you guys have been watching to this point. So if you want even more good luck and you want to make money in the crypto market without massive capital, without any previous trading experience, or without a big brand on social media, then get the Altcoin Secrets Underground Guidebook to become a crypto millionaire. It's free, it's easy to read, it's practical, and best of all, it works. All you need to do to get the book is click the link in the description of this video, click the button on the page, put in your best email address right here so we know where to send the book, and then just click the button that says send my free ebook, and you'll get it in about roughly 15 minutes right to your inbox. It should take you less than a day to read. It's about 100, I think it's like 80 pages long, maybe a couple days if you're a slow reader like me. You don't have to be smart to make money. You just have to take action and surround yourself with the right people. And on the other side, you'll have the opportunity to join Altcoin Pro University as well too. I put together a brand new video for you guys explaining it. It's only 13 minutes long. We still have the 26-minute video that you can watch right here. It's only $97 a month or $970 a year. You can pay as you go, no contracts, no commitments. We even have a 14-day money-back guarantee. So if you don't get results or if you're unhappy for whatever reason within your 14 days, you walk away with all of your money back in your pocket, and at least you learn something new, and you can live your life knowing that you're an action taker and you're not someone that just sits there and thinks, what if this doesn't work for me? What if it does work? Well, what if I don't take action? Maybe I should just finish this Netflix movie. Maybe I should take action on this later, and then you forget about it and you don't get results like Yoni, who just made $1,600 within the week on an airdrop right here, covering the cost of an annual subscription. Or Souls right here that just made $600 in an airdrop win within the past week, covering the cost of 6 months if we were to pay monthly, plus having tons of education and tons of other opportunities, tons of other altcoin picks over the next 6 months. Plus, collapsed over 90%, and Yoni claimed an airdrop worth over $620. So while people were losing their money holding that project, our community is getting free money from these airdrops on top of all of these DeFi yields that pay massive passive recurring income. Now, I'm not going to make any guarantees for you guys because everyone's portfolio balance is different, but some of the yields on these DeFi strategies are incredible. Like this one right here is at 60% APY, and we have full tutorials, training videos, and everything that you need to know on how to make this a reality for you. That way you can make money during any type of market, a consolidating market, a bear market, or a bull market. And so with that being said, all you need to do, click the link below, get the free ebook. And if you get value in the book, then I know you're going to get even more value inside of Altcoin Pro University, because together we're backing up our truck all the way to the bank, grabbing the bags, packing them and stacking them, leaving no bags left behind, because we believe the spending power of the dollar is just going to keep going down in value. That's a fact based on inflation. Blockchain technology, distributed ledger technology, and cryptocurrencies have been going up in value over the macro. That's the truth, and together we're all running to the top. I will see you guys on the next video. I will see you inside of Altcoin Pro University after you read our free ebook called Altcoin Secrets. As always, you know what to do. Stay bullish.